requesting to speak? Okay, I guess we'll get this meeting started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Thursday, September 20th, 2018. We are going to get started with the meeting with roll call. Vice Chairman Jeff Nelson.
Here.
Okay, Secretary Jay Outlewski.
Present.
Member Brian Patterson.
Present.
Member Linda Grice.
Present.
Member Clay Alsop.
Present.
I see, is Joanna, Joanna Conde is present, just about present. And my name is Sean Hutchinson. We're going to get started with a opening statement. This commission is composed of Peoria citizens who have been appointed by the City Council to serve on the commission as a civic responsibility without compensation. Our duty is to study and review planning and zoning issues within the city of Peoria. The commission hears zoning cases, holds public hearings, or may conduct a study session on a topic. Discussions made by the commission are forwarded, decisions made by the commission are forwarded as written recommendations to the City Council, who take the final action. All hearings are conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order and Rules for Procedures. Each case will be called in the order in which it appears on the agenda unless otherwise announced during the meeting. In the interest of maintaining a fair and efficient hearing, the Commission adheres to the following steps. Chair will open the case. The city staff will then provide a brief report and recommendation. The applicant is then invited to give a presentation. Then any member of the public may provide testimony. The testimony is limited to 3 minutes. When we call your name, please come up to the podium and provide your name and address. After all the testimony has been taken, we will invite the applicant back up to provide any rebuttal or final statements. Finally, we will have the commission discussion and then decision. Anyone wishing to speak must complete a speaker's request form and hand it to the assistant on my left at the end of the dais. Please be as brief as possible, and please do not repeat statements already made by others. Any member of the public may appeal to the City Council the decision of the Commission regarding conditional use permits. The appeal must be submitted in writing to the Planning and Community Development Department within 15 calendar days of the date of the Commission's decision. All Commission recommendations on public hearing items, including general plan amendments, rezones, zoning code amendments, and special plans, move forward to a regular City Council meeting. The City Council will then act on the recommendation of the Commission. The City Council may concur with the decision, modify it, overturn it, or remand it back to the Commission for further consideration. We welcome citizens' comments, and as fellow citizens of Peoria, we thank you in advance for your participation. Okay, so this will be the final call for speaker request forms. If you got those forms, please get them in. And the first item up for tonight's meeting is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine or have been previously reviewed by the Commission and will be enacted by one motion. We have, tonight we have 2 items on the consent agenda. First item is 1C, disposition of absence. Discussion and possible action to approve and or excuse the absences of Chairman Sean Hutchinson and Commissioner Joanna Conde from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on August 16th of 2018. Item 2C, the minutes. Discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on August 16th, 2018. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Moved by Jeff Nelson
I second that.
and seconded by Jay Outlewski. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, please vote. Okay, consent agenda passes. So we're on to new business. The first item up for new business is item 3R, the Terraza Center Major Plan Area Development Amendment Z15-0011A 6.2, the request for a major amendment to the Tezera PAD, proposing to A, increase the maximum building height, and B, amend the applicable sign standards for lots 7 through 9. The Terrazza Center is generally located south and west of the southwest corner of 67th Avenue and Happy Valley Road. This parcel, lots 7 to 9, is the proposed site for Lifetime Athletic Peoria, located immediately south of the primary entry at 67th Avenue. First up is the staff report. Who's up?
Good evening, Chair Hutchinson, members of Commission. My name is Randy Roach, and I'll be presenting tonight's item, Lifetime Athletic Peoria. This is a major planned area development amendment request. As stated, this PAD is located generally at the southwest corner of 67th Avenue and Happy Valley Road. You'll see that everything in yellow is actually the city of Phoenix. 67th Avenue represents our eastern border. The proposed Lifetime Athletic is located in the orange box, which is at the southern edge of the mixed-use entitled development that is currently under construction, some of which is already open. This proposal would be to allow a maximum height of up to 60 feet for lots 7 and 9, which are generally described in that, again, in that orange box, which would be wholly occupied by the applicant and the development of Lifetime Athletic. Additionally, tonight's request for the major planned area development is to create new sign standards within the comprehensive sign package, which is an appendix of the planned area development standards and guidelines report that would address a single tenant user of over 50,000 square feet. The proposed Lifetime Athletic is approximately 120,000 square feet in size, and the comprehensive sign package simply does not address that at all. Those are the only two changes to the entitlements. Here's a broader look at the surrounding center. This is generally on the east side of what many consider as the Christ Church of the Valley, or CCV campus. The CCV campus does include Hatfield Road, which is shown just south of the parking field. That is a private road that is owned by the church. This is the last remaining developable piece of land in the entitled mixed-use development. That does include a residential component. It's an assisted living center, and many commercial businesses that are located generally north of the proposed site this evening. There is a change in intensity as you move away from the entitled site, including a 230 kV overhead power line corridor, which I'll show in more detail in the coming slides. Additionally, the Prayer Hill, just located north of the site, is approximately 75 feet in height, and the main auditorium of CCV is approximately 45 feet in height. I wanted to also point out at the top left corner, the Terra Vista Estates community. This is representative of the one formal letter of opposition we have received from that HOA, which I will discuss further in our public outreach section. The power line corridor, you can see, is highlighted in yellow. It traverses the parking field as it exists today. Now, this proposed Lifetime Athletic is about 60 feet in height, hence the request this evening for a maximum height of 60 feet. It would be only 3 stories of that 60 feet, so very tall ceilings in that case. The proposed hours are 4 a.m. to 12 a.m. or midnight. It includes pools, spas, courts, studios, all sorts of equipment and outdoor recreation. Most of that will be discussed further in detail by our applicant this evening. The site will utilize the existing parking field as it exists today, with some modification, obviously, to put the building footprint within the existing parking field, and would utilize a cross-parking agreement with the church to utilize all of the surrounding parking, which is generally occupied only on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings for services. What just appeared on the screen is part of the proposed entitlements this evening. It would be to install a new traffic signal at this main entrance into CCV and into Terrazza. It is not a named road. It is the primary entrance that you would think of when entering the church campus or the commercial development. Additionally, the applicant will provide a new third travel lane for southbound traffic. This is partially an interim condition in some aspects, but this would be from Happy Valley Road south to Via Lindo, which is the block just south of Hatfield. This is a look at how the site could look if approved. The renderings if you were standing approximately at Fry's supermarket across the street in Phoenix along 67th Avenue. You were looking southwest. And this would be the view along Hatfield Road, the private road owned by the church. You can see the power lines just there on the left. This would be your view looking northeast. As stated, this amendment is very focused on just two specific requests for you this evening. The first is the height allowance. This is simply an addition of text to the existing development standards that specifically calls out parcels 7 through 9, which is wholly occupied by the Lifetime Fitness, which would allow a building height of up to 60 feet. Second, this would create a new anchor category for the comprehensive sign package. Again, the appendix of the Standards and Guidelines report that would address any single tenant above 50,000 square feet. The general plan and zoning are not being altered this evening. They have existed since 2015 as a mixed-use designation on the general plan and as a PAD for the zoning district designation. There's a mix of larger lot, smaller lot residential development, and an additional commercial centers that are just located north and northeast of the site. Notifications were sent out in accordance with city standards. This neighborhood meeting was very well attended and has been further advertised by the grassroots effort known as Upper West Side Phoenix, which specializes in encouraging restaurants and new shops to come to the northwest suburbs of Phoenix. This applicant did conduct extensive research ahead of actually the formal submittal and has continued up until this week with continued feedback received. We have received one letter of opposition from the Terra Vista Estates HOA. And to date, we have received a total of 91 letters or comments in support to this proposal. So to give you a better sense of the regional feedback we've received, here's some vicinity maps. The site is located in the red outline. The blue blob you see surrounding the site is our notification ring of 600 feet. So you can see that this has drawn regional interest in the project. On the left is everything that we received from the applicant ahead of their formal submittal, so their door-to-door campaign of basically outreaching to the neighborhood to see if there was an interest in this proposal. Everything you've seen in the yellow balloon shape represents either a comment card or a signature on their petition for support of their proposal. The one on the right represents everything received from further outreach that was beyond the neighborhood meeting. There is a total of 34 comments that I've received, 19 of which, as noted on that map on the right, 19 of those didn't fit on this map, which is about a 4-mile diameter surrounding this site. The furthest one I received was about 15 miles away from the proposed site, showing support. And the one in the middle is a representation of the distance between the HOA that is in opposition to the case and the site. It's about a half a mile away, and there's a number of taller elements surrounding the site, including, as mentioned, the 75-foot prayer hill just located northeast of the proposal and northwest of the proposal and directly southeast of this HOA, as well as the main auditorium for CCV, which is approximately 45 feet in height. The letter that was received talked about two things in particular. One was the concern about the height, which staff feels is very limited in nature and is surrounded by a number of taller elements that does not make this site stick out in any way. The second was in regards to the architecture of the site, which will be addressed and met with all city standards through the zoning ordinance and the design review manual. We did receive an additional email that did not wish to state their address on file. They were concerned about a loss of Sonoran Desert. This site is currently a parking field, so there would be no modification to any existing desert lands, as well as traffic concerns for the site, which were discussed early in the presentation regarding the additional traffic light that would be added and a third lane of southbound traffic. We wanted to reiterate that the use itself, the Health and Exercise Center, is a principally permitted use already within this development, and the purpose of tonight's meeting before you and the major PAD amendment is for the building height allowance and the sign package modification. Staff finds that these standards are architecturally appropriate for this area and limited in nature to one specific portion of this mixed-use entitled development. This site is adequately buffered through the power line corridor to the south, which is approximately 100 feet tall, and the large hill and auditorium building to the north. Our request for you this evening is to recommend approval of case Z15-0011, A2 to the City Council, subject to the conditions outlined in Exhibit 1 of the staff report. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open public, okay. Commissioner Luski.
So just real quick on the sign. So I have it right. We would be adding another dimension to our sign ordinance at 50,000 plus.
Chair Hutchinson, Commissioner Otluski, the Standards and Guidelines report, which governs the site, has an appendix known as a comprehensive sign package. This typically goes with larger, either commercial or mixed-use developments. That is basically a unique, for that development, set of standards that is away from our zoning ordinance standards. So everything for sign standards for this development is contained within that report. So
Okay.
yes, this would add a new category for them.
All right, great, thanks.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And is the applicant present?
Yes, I am,
Okay, would you like to make a
Mr.
presentation?
Chair. Sarah. Thank you. Wendy Radel with the law firm Barry Radel, for your records, 6750 East Camelback. And it's my pleasure to be here this evening on behalf of Lifetime. We have been working on this case quite a while, so I'm very excited to finally get the opportunity to present it to you and tell you a little bit about what we hope is coming to your community. So as staff mentioned, the actual underlying property owner here is Christ Church of the Valley. So we are on the eastern edge of their approximate 100-acre campus. We are just north of, and I think making good use of, the power line corridor for parking, and part of the Terrassa PAD where you see the commercial development. In fact, that commercial development is so new, if you noticed in staff's presentation, it showed up as vacant land, but we were able to collect a slightly more recent aerial, and you can see the development that's actually out there today. So Lifetime, and it's important that you understand, Lifetime is different than your typical fitness center. So where you have other fitness places where people come for an hour, they work out and they leave, Lifetime really is more of a lifestyle choice. I would tell you it's akin to a resort, or for folks that are out here, sometimes you hear about the villages over that DMB has constructed. It really is a kind of place where people come and spend a great deal of time, and families, and viewed as quite an amenity to a community. So we champion healthy, happy life for its members. We have 138 destinations in 38 major markets, but not in Peoria. So when you look here, the existing blue sites are our current locations, and the green, of course, are the proposed locations. The green that you see that's not in the yellow circle is under construction. That's actually at 24th Street and Camelback in the Biltmore. And we are, of course, here tonight proposing the one you see within the yellow circle. So you'll see there's really quite a hole, we think really quite a need, and that's why Lifetime is focused on this up-and-coming beautiful part of your city. So we also were interested to find out, we checked this out, there are actually already 280 lifetime members that live in Peoria. So if you wonder why there's so much enthusiasm and why you're getting cards from people that are, I think, some 15 miles away, it's because I think they're tired of driving and they really want to see this coming to Peoria. And so we've met with quite a bit of enthusiasm as we've talked to the community. So again, Lifetime delivers unmatched athletic resort experience, comprehensive healthing, living, aging. They have partnerships with the local schools. It's an entertainment type use, a fitness type use that promotes a healthy lifestyle across all spectrum of ages. They have things, just to give you an idea of the level and the quality, you see the quality of the interiors here, very sophisticated, high-end quality materials. See the fitness studios, indoor pools, group classes, a resort-like environment that we've talked about, comprehensive kids programs, summer camps, fitness, Spanish immersion, arts, crafts, as I mentioned, indoor-outdoor pools, full-size sports courts. I highlight those two because that is why it is at this location as well. So CCV, who has roughly 16,000 people coming to its campus on a typical weekend, they're the sellers here, and they are very excited and kind of waited a while to find a synergistic use that would work with their campus. So we think this is the start of a great partnership here. Particularly, as I'm sure you guys already know, CCV enjoys a very robust sports program, and we think that there's great opportunities, perhaps while the kids are playing sports, for the adults to be at Lifetime, and to even enhance the programs that are offered through CCV. So in terms of land use, staff mentioned this property was zoned back in 2015, 2016. The use itself was permitted and is permitted, but we are asking to modify the development standards. So when you look at what's been developed out there today, you see Starbucks, Sonic, UT, Car Wash, AutoZone, Marco's, and of course the assisted living facility that's going in. But we're asking to be able to have a taller building for a maximum height of 60 feet. I should tell you that 16 feet is the top of the top, so it's different communities measure height differently here, but in 60 feet is to the maximum height, to be permitted just on lots 7 to 9 as shown. So I also just wanted to point out again, we're asking for the height in the area that's blue, the area that's green. However, we are going to be improving that entire area with new landscaping, improving the parking surface as part of this development, but maintaining it as parking. So ultimately, what you'll see looks more like this. You see the area under the power line corridor has been refurbished, new landscaping, new surface, and then you see the Lifetime Fitness, you see the pool. And again, all of that we think dovetails and works very nicely within that power line corridor, allows us to maintain the parking under there and what is already, really quite a tall structure out there. So this is a conceptual rendering. This is not the specific facility, but I wanted to give you an idea when we talk about signage, what we're looking to do here. We think it's very consistent with the type of signage that you guys have within your community. And then I also wanted to tell you that we've been working very hard on the traffic improvements. We know that that's a very important consideration here. As you look at you got cross jurisdictions between Phoenix and Peoria, and then you've got everybody that's trying to come through 67th. So Lifetime is proposing at their sole cost and expense to add a new signal at this location, a new deceleration lane entering from CCV from 67th, to restripe the CCV exit, I'll show you that here in just a second, and to widen and stripe 67th Avenue south of the site to provide that transition from 3 lanes and then to 2. So they'll be adding an additional lane and then providing the transition, and also an acceleration lane south of the site and south of Hatfield Road. So where people are trying to get onto 67th Avenue from that residential area, it will be much easier for them to do so, particularly when you consider a new light and then the timing that opportunity provides. So we think the result here will be a new traffic pattern that mitigates some of the disruption on 67th Avenue. Vehicles are able to exit CCV faster, more efficiently. You now have 3 lanes of travel where there are 2 today. And of course, an improvement for the residents along Hatfield and their ability to exit the street as well. So when I mentioned that we're going to be restriping, this condition exists. There is already width for the pavement here, but we are going to be restriping, and then with that light, provide the opportunity for left turns to leave the site, and I think avoid a somewhat dangerous condition that exists today, which when people need to go left, they're not hanging out and waiting, they're going right, and then they're flipping a U-ey and heading back up. So we think that, I'm not going to claim no one's done it, everybody's done it, but that's kind of what we see happening out there. And so we think this is a better situation with that light and then with the striping that we're proposing. So I think it's also, or at least I hope it's clear to the commission, that it's very important to Lifetime to be good corporate citizens. So when we began this case, we actually began by walking door to door out in the neighborhood before we ultimately filed the case. And we wanted to make sure that this was something that the community wanted and that the community would support. So we went out there and walked the streets, and we were very, very pleased and surprised with the support that we received. When we did that, by the way, these are the graphics that we took. So the existing condition today, and we wanted to give folks an idea of what it would look like. And this is ultimately what garnered support that you saw across the street. So I will tell you, Randy has even higher numbers than I do. I like Randy's numbers even better. But clearly there is significant support and has been significant support as evidenced by the signatures that have been received here. And you can see that on the maps that are produced as well. So with that, we respectfully request your approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. A couple of quick questions. I apologize if I missed it. Which drive do we envision will be the main access point into this property? Will it be the Hatfield or the main entrance to the church, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Nelson, we believe it'll be the main entrance to the church. Okay. And with that light, we think that's going to be the primary way people enter and exit the site.
Thank you. I had a second question. The building height, that's where we've heard the concern. Tell me why it has to be 60 feet. Is that a franchise model that all of your structures follow the same template? Is that why, or is there a different reason?
Chair and Commissioner Nelson, and certainly Lifetime can add to this, but it is their prototype and their model that they're bringing out. And the uses that they have, and as you might imagine, the floor to ceiling that they need to be able to accommodate a pool, accommodate a basketball court. These aren't your typical office structure where they can perhaps squish it a little bit. That really doesn't work with their model here. So for them, they really want to roll out this prototype here at this location, and so they need that 60 feet to accommodate that.
So is this the first time you said prototype, is this the first time we've had a structure that will look like this? Are the others look different?
I'm going to defer.
Maybe I misunderstood.
We have our architect. Please.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Erin Kohler. I'm the Senior Director of Real Estate and Development with Lifetime. All of the clubs that we have in the Phoenix area are an older model. They've got a little bit different look to them. So is this the first club we've ever built with this general look? No, not at all. But our architecture does kind of vary, from club to club. To the height and the size of this club, I think, as Wendy was talking about, the market and where we have clubs in the greater Phoenix area, this club is quite a distance from any other club. And our goal here is to really build, a large facility that, attracts, can be kind of a regional hub for Lifetime. The 3-story club allows us to do all the amenities that we would like to do at the scale that we'd like to do them in this particular location.
So would you say that the 60 feet is really the minimum you need to put the amenities in that you desire, or is it more aesthetic reasons why we want that height?
No,
the
the 60 feet is driven by the uses within the building. You've got pools, you've got basketball courts. These things require taller ceilings. Sure. Even the main fitness floor. The feel we like to create within our clubs is, an open, airy feel with a lot of natural light coming in. Nobody likes that feel of, the hotel fitness center where, you're on the treadmill and the ceiling's 3 inches above your head. Our brand is really kind of open, airy, nice feeling interiors that requires a bit taller ceiling. There's nothing about the height for aesthetics other than the parapet on the roof, which is used to screen mechanical equipment. That would really be the only aesthetic element that contributes to the height.
Great, thank you for that explanation.
Okay, Commissioner Alsop?
Yeah, I just had a question on the transmission line easement. Are you attempting to modify that, or are you working under the existing requirements of that transmission easement?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, we are not modifying it. We are working within the existing parameters.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Conde?
Out of curiosity, how tall is our city council, our city building?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Conde, I'm just trying to estimate. It's a 3-story building, typically 12 feet per floor, probably 36, 40 feet, I would imagine.
So, okay, I was thinking, trying to, I came up to it tonight and I thought, okay, is that going to be, and it's sitting on a bit of a hill, so it's really, could be, if you had this as ground level, that could be 60 feet from before you start going up the steps. So I'm trying to visualize it. I tried to drive around and say, what's 60 feet tall that I could look at to see? Now, my next question is, if instead this was put into an apartment building, what is the typical height of a 3- or 4-story apartment building?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Conde, our RM1 zoning district, which is our multifamily zoning district, allows a maximum height of 48 feet, so that's typically a 4-story building.
So this would be 20 feet higher than your typical?
12 feet, 12 feet.
12 feet higher. Okay, so that's easier to visualize. Okay, so it's not really that terribly much higher than what we would see, is it?
No, and just to give you a semblance of scale too, I think the applicant and Randy pointed out the power line corridor, so the height is about 100 feet of the adjacent overhead power line corridor, just to give you a sense of scale there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none. We do have a few requests to speak, and I will call you guys up in the order that I received the forms. So that would put, and forgive me if I mess up these names, Katie Rowe and Amy Sept. Would you like to speak on the matter? And please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi, I'm Katie Rowe. My address is 6862 West El Cortez Place in Peoria, zip code 85383, and that is in Terramar at the northwest corner of 67th and Happy Valley. So I, as most of you know already, am the founder of Upper West Side PHX, and as Mr. Proch stated, we are trying to get more specialty shops, restaurants, businesses up in our area. We think people are ready for it. We put this out there before we officially spoke to Lifetime or any representatives from there. We got positive feedback. I think it was like 94% of the comments were positive. People are excited about Lifetime coming to the area. We expected people to be concerned with the 60-foot issue as well. We thought that if we did get complaints, that was going to be the #1 thing. Surprisingly enough, it was not. There wasn't very much mention of that. Most of the mention was of the traffic situation. So if you live up there, you know that CCV shuts down lanes every weekend. We've all wanted a light at that entrance forever. So when we found out Lifetime at their expense was going to, repave, restripe, that kind of thing, and put that in, I think that cleared up a lot of the issues. In addition, we have people all the time tell us when we meet them, business relationships that don't live in Peoria say, oh, that area is so nice, we'd love to live there if you had a Lifetime and a Whole Foods. But I'm not moving there if without a Lifetime and a Whole Foods. So I think it's definitely, like they said, it's going to be kind of a regional hub destination. People are going to come from Estancia, from West Wing, from Stetson Valley, from all over the place. I didn't realize there were 280 Peoria members already. So all those people who are going to other areas and spending their money someplace else and then picking up dinner or whatever are going to be staying in their neighborhood, spending their money there. So we really have had very little opposition to it. We have 7,000 followers between Facebook and Instagram, and we get a lot of comments when we put anything out about Lifetime, and for the most part, they've been positive. Only concern was traffic, and I think Lifetime addressed that in their community meetings. I think they have gone above and beyond, you know, to get community feedback. As a side note, I am also on my HOA board in Terramar, and we have not taken a stance on this. We don't get involved in this kind of thing. I know the Terra Vista Estates HOA president is here, and they are a small community within Terramar. So that does not, you know, his opposition does not represent the whole, I would say, of the northwest corner of 67th and Happy Valley, because Terramar does not approve or oppose it either way, and we've got 1,500 homes in the vicinity. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. And Amy Sapp, did you? You're good? Okay, good, okay. Okay, next up is ELISA Driver. And please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. My name is ELISA Driver. I live at 26077 North 74th Drive in Peoria, in the Terramar neighborhood as well. And I am actually born and raised pretty much in this area. I grew up in the Arrowhead Ranch area, so I'm very familiar with the lack of growth and how long it's taken this area to really take off. I've actually owned a home in that area, in the Upper West Side area, for roughly 10 years. I moved into Terramar 3 years ago. I have a 13-year-old that goes to school in that area, so we're very much rooted within Peoria and love living in there. It's our great home. We have no desire to leave. The one thing that's always frustrating for us, though, is we find ourselves driving everywhere. So when I heard that Lifetime was going to be coming in, I was ecstatic. I have been begging for one for years. I'm actually very active. I have trained for 4 Ironmans and done them, so having this sort of amenity in our area would just be huge for me and a lot of my friends. I actually was one of the people that showed up at the July 11th meeting and got even more excited about the potential of a Lifetime Fitness. I feel that a Lifetime coming in, you know, it was mentioned the height would be a concern. I look at what's already gone in there. There's a Sonic with really bright lights. There is a car wash that is there, a 3-minute car wash that's got really bright lights. So I feel that actually having Lifetime move in there would really detract from some of the other things I like to consider to be eyesores in the area that may have fit in that zoning that was appropriate, but really doesn't fit that feel that I really like. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just, I've lived in, you know, Peoria forever, and I just feel that this would really add a lot to our property values, and, you know, help bring in some of those higher end amenities that we've been looking for, you know, encourage some of those restaurants that, you know, we've been begging for, and, you know, I can keep my money within Peoria instead of driving, like Katie mentioned, you know, to other areas and go eat and go work out there. Currently, I'm a member at a, you know, Arrowhead Country Club. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's really the only thing that's nearby that even fits anything within, you know, what Lifetime's going to provide. So with that, thank you.
Great, okay, thank you. And now we have Michael Campbell. Please
Hi,
state your name.
good evening. I'm Mike Campbell. I am the president of the Terra Vista Estates Homeowner Association. I live at 6880 West Antelope Drive for the past 17 years. Terra Vista Estates is at the northwest corner of 67th Avenue and Happy Valley, 121 homes. Standalone community of a lot of established residents. I think more than 50% of the folks that live there have been there from the start, so 16, 17 years. When we received notice of this case, I spoke with Randy. We discussed the case and received a conceptual image of the project. We discussed it as a board. And then on August 7th, we decided that it was necessary to send in our opinion. We're not opposed to the use. In fact, a lot of the guys like the use. It's the building. We sent in a letter of opposition to the city regarding this case. Again, we're not opposed to the use. It belongs there. But a 60-foot tall building in a corridor where the tallest building is 35 feet does not belong there. This is a 200 by 200 approximate measurements box, 60-foot tall, that will be 200 feet off the property line on 67th Avenue. The hill that they reference, if you're coming north, you're not going to see the hill anymore. We all kind of like seeing that hill. I'm not a member of CCV Church. We just like the view to the hill that's back there. In my conversation with the applicant's representative, we offered an overall height, hey, go to 40 feet. 40 feet is reasonable. And they keep talking about this 3-story. It's not 3 stories, folks, it's 5 stories. Typical commercial development is a 12-foot story. So when it's talked about that it's a 3-story building, sorry, that's not an accurate statement. Randy even mentioned it, 12 to 14 foot is the standard for a story. Yeah, again, when I was talking with the applicant's representative, 40-foot wooden works, and due to the interior gym equipment that requires tall ceilings. I understand that. I'm fully aware of that. Further stated that the limitations of the lot create problems. I know the transmission corridor along the south side precludes any kind of development under their parking lot is all you're going to get. And so if this 60-foot tall building is not approved, per her words, they'd look elsewhere for a parcel. My thought is that the building doesn't fit. You're trying to put 10 pounds into a 5-pound bucket. And again, we're not opposed to use. It's the building. This is a big box. There's no building in this area that fronts 67th Avenue of that size. Point of reference that I was given that day on the phone was the Mountain Ridge High School auditorium is 60 foot tall. That building has a 75-foot face towards 67th Avenue and is approximately 200 feet off the property line. The CCV main building that's referenced as 45 feet tall is 1,300 feet back from 67th Avenue, and it's abutted to the mountain. The senior center that has been built in and wrapped around the mountain on the back side there. Again, it's probably 35 feet tall, but you don't see that because you have the backdrop of this mountain. Our group, a fairly tight group, felt the big box just isn't appropriate for there. We're going to see this thing as we drive by every day. We come and go routinely. I know the folks in Terramar do. I've talked to some other residents in Terramar that aren't thrilled about the big box. They want the use. Nobody questions that. It's actually a permitted use. It's the size of the building. And there's got to be something to do. I even asked, could you make a basement? You're going to dig out an Olympic-sized pool. You might as well dig out a big hole and put in the first floor of the building because your cooling costs will be less. So, but that was said that wouldn't be done. So, I'm here to answer any questions you have. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of my community. So, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for your comments. Okay. Do we have anything further from the applicant?
I could. If it would actually be possible to go back to the staff presentation, if you back to the support and opposition, I just want to point one quick thing out, if I could, Mr. Chair. Mr. Campbell does live about 3,500 feet away, so quite a distance. It's actually also on the other side of that hill that staff has already talked about. So there's already something between us that is over 75 feet tall and would fully screen what we're building here. Yes, the site is constrained. Yes, we very much want to bring this amenity and all that it comes to this community. And we think this is an ideal site with all of the synergistic reasons that I've already talked about. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Chairman. Can you address some of the arguments that the prior speaker made, particularly about having a below ground level, having one floor below grade and then two above?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and again, I may be pulling up the Lifetime folks as well, but I can tell you, it was very clear to us at the beginning. In C2, and feel free to correct me, you're allowed to go up to 48 feet in height. So we're going through a lot of effort here to be able to pick up. I mean, this has a PAD that has limitations, but to get above and beyond that. And it was important enough for us to spend the time going through this whole process to get that additional height, because there isn't another good solution. There are limitations between the power line, between the entrance that occurs, between the parking needs for CCV, and then everything that's involved in the cost and a hard dig to try to go down to lower the building. So when you consider all of those reasons, it really wasn't feasible. And we also felt that the height here is appropriate. It is contextual when you look at what exists on CCV's campus, when you look at the fact we're next to a 100-foot tall power line corridor that's 230 feet wide, it made sense to us. And again, that's also why we took the time up front to go out and meet with the community and walk the neighborhood.
And we certainly appreciate that, but I just wanted your opinion on what's feasible, what's not. Can you speak to the 40-foot, or I think you said you can go to 46 feet? Is that what the current zoning is?
Mr. Chair, let me be clear. There is a PAD limitation here to 30 feet, but I wanted to point out a typical C2 limitation in your city is actually 48 feet, so it's even
I understand.
taller. Here, of course, we're requesting that 60.
Okay. Is this project, is this business viable if you were not going to 60 feet? If you were told today, you cannot go 60 feet, is this viable? Could you build this and make it successful, or would that be a deal killer?
That would be a deal killer.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And we are up to questions for staff. Do I have any questions for staff? I'm gonna say one thing, and I typically speak to this when we see projects come to town. This is a large-scale project. Obviously, it's a large building, and should you get the approval today and then ultimately from the council, just if you could have a word with your development team, and specifically with the local contractors and local workforce from the city of Peoria. There's a lot of opportunity there for not only employment within our city, to build buildings within our city with local residents. There's workforce development boards and other resources that the development team can and the contractors can reach out to and utilize local talent on the local buildings that we build. And there's also very, very good opportunities for apprenticeships and to learn the various trades that go into building buildings such as this. So if you do get the approval for this, it's not a stipulation, but I would appreciate working within the local community to hire local workforce. Commissioner Outluski.
Yeah, I think just to address the entire issue of this, the 60-foot this week kind of hit me as odd. I shouldn't say odd, just hit me as though it seemed awful tall for that area. But after hearing the conversations and thinking about CCV's auditorium, the power lines that are right there, I feel as though I think you could get away with the 60-foot and it would not really detract from the area. So I just wanted to voice that opinion.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Alsop.
Yeah, I feel similar. I think it's appropriate. I'm impressed with the public outreach that was done previous to the application, and that eased any concern I would have had about the height, was how many people were in support of that. And that's what we're here to do, is to represent the public and in cases speak on technical terms. And I think on a technical basis that this is a reasonable request.
Yeah, I could say I've been on this board for several years now. I've never seen the due diligence that I saw with this one. This was very impressive. We all appreciate when the developers reach out to the local community. That being said, I see no other requests to speak. I will then entertain a motion on item 3R, Z15-0011A2.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. I'd like to make the motion that we move forward for approval by the City Council for 3R, which is Z15-0011A.2, including any staff recommendations.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Anything further under discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. That moves us up to item 4R. This is a rezoning case for Granite Hills, Z17-12. A request to rezone approximately 40 acres from Suburban Ranch, SR 43, to Granite Hills Plan Area Development, PAD, in order to develop 120 single-family homes located south of the southeast corner of Dysart Road and Ridgeline Road. Staff, you're up. Who's the lucky one? Randy again?
Busy guy.
Good evening again. I'll continue on. This is a bit of a change of pace. Let's talk about this case, a residential case, Z17-12, entitled Granite Hills. This is a rezoning request for a PAD. The request pertains to a property highlighted in the red box. This is just south of Ridgeline Road, just off of Dysart Road. This area should look familiar to you all. I've spoken with you a number of times in the past regarding other entitlements in this area. Sonora Place to the immediate north, and Haciendas at White Peak, which is currently off-screen, off-map, located north and west of this proposal. This would be to entitle the site from Suburban Ranch, SR 43, to Granite Hills Planned Area Development, or PAD, to develop 120 single-family homes from Taylor Morrison. Here's a broader look at the surrounding area, including Haciendas now on map to the north and west. Trilogy of Estancia is directly east of this proposal, and Trilogy West is located just north of Sonoran Place. These are all fairly similar residential developments, some of which are age-restricted, with entitlements right around 3 to the acre. The site is immediately buffered to the west by a hillside area. It is an unnamed hill. It's about 200 feet in height. Eventually, Dysart Road will connect to the south to Joe Max Road. This proposal would do the half streets along their frontage of the site. Here's a look at the proposed site plan. This has a maximum height of 30 feet, not 60 feet, except along the eastern property line, which would actually be restricted to 1 story in height. This was a voluntary effort by the applicant ahead of any neighborhood feedback to better mix with the surrounding area with a Trilogy at Vistancia to the east. Sonoran Place ended up doing something very similar directly north of the site. This property has 31% total open space, which is a fairly significant, almost 1/3 of the site, with usable open space above our minimum of 9% at 11%, and the dedication of natural open space that is undisturbed at 15%. A majority of that, of what you see, is along that 75-foot wide trail corridor that buffers the Taylor Morrison product from the adjacent Trilogy of Estancia. Trilogy of Estancia has an additional 20-foot tract between their homes and their property line. So in total, there's 95 feet between walls in this case, but if you consider yards, we're well over 100 feet between homes. If you recall, Sonoran Place created a very similar trail network along their frontage, and this would actually connect the two systems for a half-mile route along this path. You'll also notice along the eastern side is the larger of the lots, and that works its way west with the smaller product and smallest product. Here's a look at the conceptual development standards. These are mostly similar to our R18 and R16 zoning districts, minus a few alterations that I've provided in bold, specifically the lot areas, the lot widths, and the lot coverage. Now, it is not anticipated, you will notice some level of increase over our standard of 45% to 55%. That is not to say that the Taylor Morrison products will include the entire building envelope. That is to allow front porches, rear porches, extensions of porches, all of those sort of minutia elements that they get you with when you go buy your house. The other item of note is the block length of 1,050 feet. Our standard is 1,000 feet maximum before mitigation is required. In this case, the applicant is providing a chicane along that eastern property line. Let me go back to show you on the site plan. It's right about midpoint. It's not very well shown. This is typically used to discourage cut-through traffic or areas of a long stretch where you'd have higher levels of speeds. In this case, the 1,050-foot road is on the innermost block of this development. So in most instances, any driver looking to get home that lives along that eastern property line isn't going to traverse the entirety of that roadway length. They're going to take one of the 4 connecting adjacent roadways. Speaking back along the development standards, the proposed setbacks are the same as they are for our zoning ordinance. The front, rear, and sides are all consistent with R16. Again, there is no Taylor Morrison product that would use the entirety of their building envelope. So based on the discussions we've had with them through our pre-plat administrative process and still to come design review process to look at the actual homes themselves, most of these would have lots, or I'm sorry, excuse me, rear yards between 20 and 30 feet in depth. The general plan land use destination is low-density residential, which has a range of 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre with a target of 3. The request at 120 homes is equal to 3.0. The current zoning designation for the site is SR 43, which is consistent as a almost interim or placeholder condition until entitlements are made. You can see that the developments directly north and east of the site have all gone through similar entitlements right around 3 to the acre. Haciendas is at 2.5, which is off map. Sonoran Place is at 3.08. And Trilogy of Estancia, let me look back at my notes. Apologize, I thought it was more convenient to find, but it's right around 3 to the acre as well. Notifications were per city standards, as indicated by postcards and a site posting. If you notice, our meeting for this proposal was actually about a year ago. It was on September 14th, 2017. What happened? At that time, D.R. Horton, instead of Taylor Morrison, was the home builder attached to this project. The kind of feedback they received, they did not wish to move forward at that time. They had a more dense product and was looking to obtain easements into Trilogy of Estancia to the east for a second point of access. Taylor Morrison came on board and addressed those concerns by creating an access easement to the north through Sonoran Place. In case of event on Dysart Road, the traffic can traverse Granite Hills and through Sonoran Place up to Ridgeline Road. And that, again, is only in an emergency situation that something should occur on Dysart. Additionally, they have lowered their requested number of homes to 120 to meet our target standard of 3.0 to the acre. When Taylor Morrison came on board, the other thing that they did voluntarily was to send out a new notice letter that basically indicated that they were now on board with the project. That letter is included with your packet this evening, and how they addressed all the initial concerns that were received approximately a year ago. You'll note that we did receive 2 letters of opposition last year, and those were in regards to the easement and the density, which have been addressed with Taylor Morrison. Since Taylor Morrison has sent that letter, about 2 months ago, we have not received any additional feedback. I did reach out to the 2 people that did oppose the case with the previous home builder. Neither offered any further correspondence regarding this proposal. These standards through the PAD were developed to promote compatibility in the area, including Trilogy products, Trilogy West and Trilogy at Estancia, as well as Sonoran Place. And again, the requested alterations to our development standards were to create visual interest by having front porches and rear porches, and to break up some of that front plane you would normally see with the garage. I believe, and I'll let Taylor Morrison speak on this further, on their smaller lots, I believe 4 out of 6 of them all had standards that either had living space or patio space that were in front of the garage plane. With that being said, our request for you this evening on item 4R is to recommend approval of case C 1712 to City Council, subject to the conditions outlined in Exhibit 1 of this staff report, and I will take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Randy. So, just a real quick question. Is Dysart Road, is that developed all the way up through there? I don't recall that.
Chair Hutchinson, can you, I have a separate side here. Can you refer to which one you're speaking of?
The Dysart Road, does that go all the way through, like from the south to the north to, I'm sorry, the Ridgeline?
Chair Hutchinson, let me get you back to the broader map right here. Dysart Road does not exist at all today, actually.
Okay, that's-
There's a sewer scar that you'll see is the light color that's underneath my dash line. Sonoran Place is part of their entitlements, and they're about to go vertical. I don't believe they've actually poured any foundations yet. We'll be constructing Dysart along their frontage, and then Granite Hills would do the same amount of frontage. There is private land still to the south that would continue to build out Dysart Road as development comes in.
So all of the traffic would be going north to Ridgeline, and that's the way that the access.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thanks. Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Chairman. Randy, can you clarify this second access point issue? I wasn't able to keep up with where you said that would be. Is that where the emergency access at the top there by that retention basin in the top, the northwest corner of the property?
Chair Hutchinson,
I'm sorry,
Commissioner
northeast
Nelson,
corner?
you are correct. It is in the northeast side. I apologize for not having a clearer graphic that indicates that. It would be directly adjacent to the northeastern lot that faces north-south. It'd be a 20-foot tract, most likely DG, that would connect between Granite Hills and Sonoran Place. I should have brought a more clear exhibit that shows.
Oh, sorry, I see it.
Sonoran Place has a cul-de-sac that aligns perfectly, so this would be a straight shot. Again, that's only in case fire needs to shut down Dysart Road completely. Would there ever be a need to traverse in that direction?
You said decomposed granite would be the kind of material that we use there?
Decomposed granite, that's
And
correct.
would there be gates or anything like that, where like with access codes, or is this open, can anybody just traverse it if they wanted to, whether there was an emergency or not?
Commissioner Nelson, it would be mountable curb, so you wouldn't want to drive on it if you didn't have to. Sonoran Place has a large amount of their natural open space that wraps their eastern and southern side.
Okay.
So there's actually about a 75-foot gap between the backs of these homes and the back of the Ashton Woods homes.
So for some reason, there was an accident at the entry point, an overturned car, for example. We've seen it, it happens. So all traffic would be routed up that curb and over that gravel road. That's the only way they'd be able to get in and out.
Commissioner Nelson, yes, that's correct. The
It
applicant.
seems- Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The applicant has also provided the medians, as you can see on the main drive into the site. So should something occur internally to the site, there's still an opposing way to get back out, and those divided roadways in that nature have to meet fire access on both sides. So this would only be in the event that something would occur on Dysart.
Okay. I just think it's unusual to have one access point like that, but it sounds like traffic looked at it, there's no concern.
Chair Hutchinson and Commissioners, we did. It's a 120-lot subdivision, so it generates very little traffic. And when we say it's one way in, one way out for this particular development, off Dysart going up to Ridgeline, that's an interim condition. Eventually, Dysart's going to punch through to the south to Joe Max. And so say if there's an incident at Dysart and Ridgeline, interim, folks will have to use this fire bypass to get in and out, but ultimately, within 10 years, because we're identifying in our infrastructure fees, we will be able to punch south, and there'll be a secondary way to get in here. So when there's a secondary way via Joe Max and Dysart, then we're really only looking at the main entry where the median is that would be problematic. And then because of the raised median, there will be the opportunity to go on one side of the median or the other side of the median if there's an emergency. So we're really just talking about interim because we got new developments. Sonoran Place is coming in. They're building Dysart from Ridgeline South, and then this one is coming in. They're continuing Dysart to this development. Anything south of this development, we really need to look at a better solution to get traffic in and out using Jomax to come north into this area.
Thank you, Ms. Lemke, I appreciate it.
Commissioner Grice, did you? That was it? Okay. Yeah, it just, so there's a future PAD just north of this one. Is that going to, align with that pathway for the alternative exit, the emergency exit, or is that a?
Chair Hutchinson, if you're referring to Sonoran Place, which is directly north of the site, that was entitled about a year and a half ago. They meet their 2 points of access by having a entrance off of Dysart Road and an entrance off of Ridgeline Road.
Okay. So they'll be able to access through Sonoran Place to Ridgeline Road if necessary?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. Do you have another comment? Oh, okay. Well, then you're up again. Commissioner Nelson.
Question. So with the change of ownership, sorry about that. With the change of ownership, with the changes made to the development since the last public hearing, we don't require typically a second public hearing to come back and revisit this new project? Is that not our practice?
Chair Hutchinson, Commissioner Nelson, the only thing that truly changed on this project between the two home builders was the home builder. D.R. Horton had requested a denser product as well as a access into Trilogy at Vistancia.
Okay.
The only alterations to that were simply the home builder attached to it. They've lowered the density, and they have received the easement up north instead of going to the adjacent age-restricted community.
So the changes we didn't consider, they were insignificant or something that would make it more amenable to the neighbors, so we didn't feel that's necessary because of that?
The changes addressed the initial concerns received a year ago, and the applicant did provide a new, basically a notification saying that we were attached to the project now. I haven't received any additional feedback, and I did reach out specifically to a number of people that had concerns last year and did not hear back.
Okay.
And as well as we certainly sent out notice of hearing postcards as well, informing them of tonight's meeting.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I see no further requests to speak with the staff. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And is the applicant present? Please state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Lindsay Shuby. I'm with the law firm of Gamage and Burnham here on behalf of Taylor Morrison. I do have a presentation, but frankly, it looks a lot like Randy's. He covered all of the highlights, and you guys touched, I think, on the big questions. You know, the lot coverage is a big question, but it is mostly for the porches. You know, the way you guys calculate your lot coverage, if it's a covered porch, it counts towards it, and that adds a lot of visual interest, and that's something that's important to Taylor Morrison. So I can take you through the presentation, or I know you have another case here tonight, and you probably all want to get home and have dinner. So I can either take you through the presentation or just answer questions if you have any more specifically for us.
Commissioner Conde.
I looked at this. Tell me, how many lots are going to be your minimum, what, 48 feet?
48 feet. So so there's 120 lots. See, again, look at, I told you, my presentation looks just like Randy's did. Again, 40 acres, 120 lots. 2/3 of them are the largest size. As far as how many are the 48s, do you? Perfect. So the 48s, we've got 35 lots. So that's 29%.
35 are going to be only 48 feet wide?
Correct. That's 29% of the lots. The largest size, which is the 63, we have 39 of those.
Okay.
And those will all be in response to the neighborhood meeting that Taylor Earl had on behalf of D.R. Horton. There was a strong request from the residents in Vistancia to make sure they're all single-story and large lots adjacent to Vistancia. And so we absolutely, when we took control of the project, wanted to do
Okay.
it.
The reason I mention that is that you have a 20-foot wide garage, and you have setbacks that leaves, what, less than 15 feet for an entry and a room. That's really, I mean, you end up building these long, narrow houses with side entries What, do you have any pictures of your houses? I see these built, and they, as I said before, they sell the first time, but 48 feet wide is a very narrow lot.
Well, Chairman, Commissioner, I don't have pictures of the lots, but I will tell you, we did not ask for any deviations on any of the setbacks. So we do maintain all the minimum setbacks in the
Right.
R16.
I know you maintain the setbacks, and that, I've mentioned that before, that is my issue. 15 feet for a backyard, 35 feet wide for a house is very narrow. Setbacks of, 5 and 8. And I know that that's what you're living with, and that's what you have. I'm just making my statement that I wish that developers would come in with something wider than 48 feet or 50 feet. I think it is very narrow, and I see the results later. I'm not faulting you, because this is what you got. But I would like to see, I just pulled up some of your floor plans, and I didn't see anything in the floor plans of Morrison Homes that I had listed that would accommodate that.
Well, I do have a representative from Taylor Morrison if we want to get more into the floor plans, but one thing I think that's interesting that Randy did note is that our lots have more depth than what the code requires.
Okay.
And so that will help with the rear yard setback. The rear yard setback is 15 feet, but our depth of our lots is wider, or is more deep
And
than
that's
what you
good.
require. So I think that will help.
As I've mentioned before, 15 feet wide is often not big enough to plant a tree that could shade a house. You can't do Palo Verde or mesquite when they get big, because they branch out more than that. And so then we end up having heat islands where the backyard isn't shaded, the walls aren't shaded, and we have all of this reflective heat, especially with two-story houses, and I've mentioned it before, and it's a problem. So I'm glad that you have deeper backyards, because we end up having much more heat here because we have much more rock and concrete, et cetera, that is reflecting it, absorbing it and reflecting it back. Okay?
Would you like further comments on the floor plan, or are you?
I'd love to see a floor plan. At least after the meeting, I'd like to see a floor plan.
Chair, Commissioner, we will absolutely share a floor plan with you. Oh, you want to speak real quick? Name and address.
Amy Weidman, my address is 23007 North 20th Way in Phoenix, 85024. Chairman, Commissioner, so Taylor Morrison is actually designing brand-new product. That's why we didn't offer up any floor plans for this smaller lot size. But we are very successful in the 35-foot wide product. We offer it in Scottsdale. We offer it in Phoenix, Gilbert, Queen Creek. It's actually becoming very popular. The way the houses are laid out, they're very open. I don't know if you've gone to any of the newer communities with the newer house plans, but I will tell you that probably 10 years ago, that house product did look very long, very narrow. It felt very subdivided internal of the home. But if you go in those homes today, they have been completely redone on the interior, and they are actually highly sought after. We've been very successful with them, and which is one of the reasons that we're bringing the product here to Peoria. Some of our new redesigns of this particular product has been because of the recent interest that we have, just from residents that have bought the homes that have given us feedback. And so we've gone through and completely redone these. And that is providing more of the front space, pulling the garage back. We've typically put in paver driveways, take away the concrete look. Sky Crossing is a really good example of where we're doing that. We did that at Sanctuary as well in Desert Ridge. So if you'd like to see kind of what that looks like, those are some really great areas to go take a look. But paver driveways is something that we are offering up to do in this community to take away from that concrete look as well.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Alsop.
I always get a little concerned when we start talking about wanting to have bigger lots. The way these lots are sold is by the front foot, which means the wider the lot is, the more expensive it is, which is more expensive for the buyer. I'm the youngest commissioner here. I wouldn't have been able to live where I live if my lot was 5 feet wider, because it would have cost $10,000 to $20,000 more. So I support anything that helps get a little bit more diversity in that zip code, because people my age are struggling to be able to afford houses to get down payments. And we need quality home builders that can come in and provide a product that would accommodate young families rather than more mature families. So I'm happy to see a little bit more diversity in the zip code come in.
Okay. Any further comments from the applicant?
No,
And are
I
you
don't
in
think so.
agreement with staff recommendations?
We agree with all the stipulations, and we respectfully request a recommendation of approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing that, I will close public hearing, and we'll open up to the commission for any further comments for staff. Commissioner Lucy?
Yeah, not so much for staff, as just a comment for Taylor Morrison. Thank you very much for picking Peoria and Vistancia to bring your product in here. It's a very desirable area up in Vistancia, and I know that this is going to be a quick sellout for you guys, so we appreciate you coming up here and doing what you've done. I agree with, with one of the commissioners that the future is smaller. We may not all agree with it. I hope that the next generation agrees with it, because there's going to be a lot of small lots out there over the next 10 or 20 years. But I just wanted to voice, my opinion. We appreciate you picking us for your product. Thanks.
Okay. Seeing no further comments, we will entertain a motion on item 4R, Z17-12.
Chairman, I'd like to recommend approval of case Z17-12 to the City Council, subject to the conditions and stipulations outlined in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second for approval. Please vote. Okay, and it passes unanimously. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have item 5R. This is the Springdale Center at Triana Park. Major PAD amendment, Z05-07A5. Staff, do you have a report on this? Who's up? Randy
Yes, good
again.
evening, Chairman Hutchinson, Commissioners. Tonight I'll be presenting case Z05-07A.5, a major planned area development, or PAD, amendment to Triana Park, PAD. Architecture All and Associates submitted this application on behalf of Dr. Porowell, who is the owner of the 11-acre property located south of the southwest corner of Thunderbird Road and 88th Avenue. This property is a part of the Triana Park mixed-use development referred to as Parcel 6 within the Triana Park PAD. The proposed amendment would change the allowable uses within Parcel 6. The property is located at the southern end of Triana Park, where 88th Avenue ends. To the north are multifamily apartments that are within Triana Park development. 3 out of the 4 multifamily apartments shown here are part of Triana Park. To the east is Loop 101 and vacant land that is also part of Triana Park. The strip of land is also owned by Dr. Porwell and allows for office uses. To the south and east is New River, and the closest single-family residence to the subject property is across the river. Directly abutting these homes is a single-family living facility. And across the freeway to the east and the southeast is Empire Business Park, which includes some vacant land and light industrial uses. Parcel 6 currently allows for attached single-family residential and senior living housing. The proposed amendment would split Parcel 6 into 2 sub-areas known as 6A and 6B. 6A is the northern half of the parcel that abuts the multifamily apartment building, and this sub-area will allow for a behavioral health facility, a dementia facility, senior living housing, or medical offices. 6B will allow for a behavioral health facility or a senior living housing. Currently, there is a site plan and review for a behavioral health facility located on 6B. Other additional changes to the Triana Park PAD include changes to the development standards, cleanup concerning verbiage, removal of attached single-family residential, and the addition of the proposed uses, a brief description of both the behavioral health and dementia facilities, since these two uses are not defined in the zoning ordinance, and a provision to allow loading areas and trash enclosures the ability to face the freeway. Additional landscaping is required to help screen these areas from the Loop 101, along with the appropriate maintenance to ensure the landscaping continues to function as screening. Triana Park was included in a larger area that was annexed into the city in 1977. In June of 2006, City Council approved the Triana Park PAD zoning, which is a mixed-use development consisting of multifamily within parcels 1 and 3, retail with parcel 2, a hotel with parcel 4, office condos with parcel 5, and then again the attached single-family residential and the senior living with parcel 6. The attached single-family residential is approved with a density of 10 dwelling units per acre, which is approximately 110 units. The senior living housing is allowed with 160 units. Currently, the only portions of Triana Park that have been built are the multifamily parcels, which is 1 and 3. There have been 4 minor PAD amendments approved so far, and all 4 affect the multifamily parcels. Triana Park has an opportunity with this proposed amendment to further diversify the mixed-use concept of the development with medical-type uses. The subject property does not abut any single-family residential homes, and the proposed uses provide an appropriate transition from the multi-story, multi-family apartments to the north into the future office condos to the east. There is a sidewalk and landscaping that already exists on the subject property along the northern border that will help buffer the proposed uses for 6A from the apartments, and is also a pedestrian connection from 88th Avenue to the New River Trail. Additional height restrictions are also proposed with the development standards to help mitigate and buffer the future uses from the apartments as well. There are separate development standards for each parcel within Triana Park and separate development standards for each use for parcel 6. So this table shows the development standards for the attached single family. So the maximum lot coverage is 60% with a maximum building height of 30 feet. And for the senior living housing development, the maximum lot coverage is 50% with a maximum building height of 48 feet. The proposed development standards are simplified to one table for all uses for 6A and 6B. All of the standards are the same as to what was approved for the senior living housing, with the exception of the height, which is now restricted to 30 feet within 30 feet of any residential district. The height may increase 1 foot per each 3 feet of additional setback to a maximum of 48 feet. And this does better align with the zoning ordinance standards for similar uses. There is a site plan and review for a behavioral health facility known as Springdale Center, located on 6B and managed by Dr. Porwell. The proposed facility is approximately 43,000 square feet and is 1 story with the exception of a 2-story main entry lobby, which is proposed at 30 feet in height. There will be 4 wings with a total of 108 units, and the patients will be allowed outside only in the 2 atriums shown here on the site plan. The atriums are enclosed and limited to use in daylight hours. All entrances and exits are controlled to ensure patients cannot leave without proper authority. The primary function of this facility is to treat individuals for mental, behavioral, and stress-related health concerns like depression and anxiety. Substance abuse-related therapy will be offered, but on a smaller scale and will remain secondary to the primary function. Patients are voluntary and can be as young as 12 years old, and this facility will not treat any type of violent or aggressive behavior. Therefore, there will not be any lockdown rooms required or necessary. The facility is open daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for patient check-in and check-out. Patients can check out after hours if special arrangements have been made. There will be outpatient services provided for things like group therapy 3 to 5 days per week from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Patients arrive and leave in many different forms, but will always be escorted to their transportation by staff when leaving to ensure no one is loitering on the property. There are 2 entry points into Triana Park off of Thunderbird Road. One is on Rio Vista Boulevard, which is a full access intersection with a traffic signal. And the second is on 88th Avenue. This intersection allows right in and right out and left in only. An extension of the left turn stacking lane will be required with the development of the behavioral health facility. Noticing was completed in accordance with the zoning ordinance. A neighborhood meeting was held on August 7th with 6 citizens in attendance. And to date, staff has not received any correspondence in opposition or support of this project. And based on the key findings listed here and in the staff report, staff asks that this commission recommends approval to the City Council for case Z05-07A.5, subject to the conditions outlined in Exhibit 1 of the staff report. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions you may have.
Okay, great, thanks, Jennifer. Do we have any questions for staff? No questions for staff, okay. There it goes. I thought I saw you go for the button. All right, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you for the report, Jennifer. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Is this an inpatient behavioral facility? Or there'll be overnight stays?
Chairman Hutchison, Commissioner Nelson, yes. So there is 24-hour care. Some patients may stay a day. Typically, it's about a 5 to 7 day stay, although some can stay a few weeks.
Sure. And can we address, these can be a noisy thing, hospitals. They get deliveries, they get supplies, they get medications delivered early in the morning. What are we doing as far as shielding that from these apartment complexes, which seem to be in pretty close proximity?
Commissioner Nelson, this is set up a little bit more like a senior living facility versus a hospital. So one, you won't have, let's say, any ambulances coming with sirens or anything like that. 2, you do have at least the clientele coming during regular business hours somewhat. And the drop-off for supplies will be during the day like any other business. They are proposing to have that area on the east side of the building, which is directly adjacent to Loop 101.
Do you have a slide that shows that?
So where the arrow is pointing, actually, where it says parcel 6B,
Okay.
the trash enclosure and the loading dock will be on that side. That is also where the kitchen area will be. Therefore, that is why the deliveries will be there, because that will be the main delivery they will be getting will be for food.
Okay, so we feel that that's a sufficient location where we won't be creating any noise concerns for neighbors.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Commissioner Conde.
I live in Desert Harbor, and I have been waiting for 30 years for that parcel to be developed. It has been vacant that long. And the noise from the 101 would block probably anything coming in and out of any deliveries, because at certain times of the day, it is, if the wind is blowing in the wrong direction, it is very noisy. And when I looked at this, I thought, that's perfect. I'm a senior citizen. I deal with a lot of senior citizens, and unfortunately, our hearing gets less as we get older. And so that's a perfect place for it, because they're not going to be as disturbed by noise as younger people who have much better hearing. Not that all seniors have bad hearing, but let's face it, that is one of the things that goes down. So I think this is an excellent use. I think at the end, it means that there's going to be a lot of privacy for these people. I think it's a wonderful use, the whole plan, for a very, very awkward piece of property that has been hanging in Peoria's, bucket of vacant land for many, many years. So I'm really happy to see this coming.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions for staff, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And is the applicant present? Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Samir Slatewala, 540 East Pebble Beach Drive, Tempe, Arizona. I'm representing Architectural, the architecture firm. Honestly, I think Jennifer covered most things. I'm here to answer any questions if it comes to stuff about the site. I also have Dr. Purwal if you have any questions directed towards him. One of my comments would be that we have actually been looking at developing something similar to this in Peoria for quite a while. Dr. Purwal and us and the city of Peoria have been actually talking for about 10 years now to try to find the right actual lot. We have explored a few other options and everything always tend to just not make the most sense. And with this location, with where the freeway is, New River, the location of single-family detached residence, this actually ends up seeming to make the most sense in Peoria. So that's why we've really started focusing on this particular parcel.
Okay, well, thank you. And do we have any questions for the Commissioner Nelson?
Mr. Stagwell, just a quick question on, is there a 24-hour crisis intake center as part of this where people could be showing up at any hour of the day, or does it tend to be a 9 to 5 type of operation?
So it's basically between, and I can have Dr. Purwal explain a little bit better, but basically between the actual hours, it would already be set up. There'd be appointments, and then basically the patient would come in. There's a council room. They would talk to them, their family, find out exactly what the best needs are, and put them in the correct area of the facility. So it's not something that in a instance somebody would just show up in the middle of the night. There's a business hour between that 8 to 5 p.m. and it's just it's basically from that 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next morning. There's nurse staffs there, so they're sleeping there. If anything, they have somebody there, 2 nurses per wing. That's kind of how the setup is.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying that.
Personally, I love the use of the area. I share Commissioner Conde's thoughts about that. It's been wide open. It's a very awkward place, and such a needed service today, and really appreciate you guys in the neighborhood for me personally. So thank you. Anybody else, any other questions for the applicant? And are you in agreement with the staff's conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it for the commission. Any further questions for staff? Seeing none, let's entertain a motion on item 5R, Z05-07A5.
Mr. Chair, I would like to recommend that we approve the approval of Z0507A.5 to the City Council, subject to the conditions outlined in Exhibit 1 of the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've moved and seconded. Any further in discussion? Seeing none, please vote. And it passes unanimously. Okay. That brings us to call it a public on non-agenda items. Seeing none, brings us to updates from staff. Who's up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Just an update on our next meetings. Our next meeting is October 4th. There is a footnote there. The meeting location was advertised and posted for council chambers at that time. The date and time will remain the same, but the location is being moved to the point of view room. It's over in the Development and Community Services building. So just a quick update. We are renoticing that meeting, but just so you know, that next meeting, October 4th, will be in the point of view room. And then following that, our next regular meeting will be October 18th. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know.
Well, thank you. I know there'll be at least one of us that's going to forget that and come to the city council chambers.
we will have somebody either posting the site out here or standing guard, just to make
I've
sure
been that
people-
guy every time.
Yeah.
Commissioner Conde, did you have okay, you were on here. Okay, Commissioner Lucy?
Yeah, I just want to make notice of Money Magazine's 2018 City of Arizona is Peoria. We are the #1 ranked city in Arizona.
Absolutely.
We're actually number 29, according to Money Magazine, in the country.
Which ain't too shabby.
Yeah, which is not too shabby. Congratulations to development, economic, the Mayor Carlott. I mean, all of us should be very proud of our city and where it ranks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioner Nelson?
Just a quick question. I was online watching the September 4th study session. Yes, my name is Jeff Nelson. I have no life. But anyway, I was watching with quite interest because I caught part of a presentation from somebody talking about the fact there may be some upcoming revisions to the sign ordinance, that we maybe need to sing another round. Perhaps I misinterpreted the bit I saw, but are there another round of changes, or are we reevaluating our current sign ordinance?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Nelson, when we went through the sign code effort, that was a 2-year effort, a large update to our sign code. And so what we committed to the council was that at the end of that period, since it was a large piece of legislation, that at the end of a year, we would follow up with any minor refinements, because anytime you have a legislation that large, there's going to be some things you need to tweak a little bit. So we'll assess that. And so our plan is to scoop up any refinements and bring those back first quarter next year.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right, can't wait. Any updates from the Planning and Zoning Commissioners?
I jumped the gun. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. All right, I see no other items on the agenda. We're going to call the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good job, Jerry.